Good morning, scholars. Today we're going to take a look at Heratis, Book 1, Chapter 3. This is where Alexandros, otherwise known as Paris, the son of Priam, abducts Helen, the wife of Menelaus, brother of Agamemnon. De utere de legusi genee metatauta, Alexandron ton Priamu, a ke ko otatauta, et elesai hoi ek tes helados, di harpages genestai gunaika, epistamenon pantos, hoti uto se dikas, udegar ekenus didonai. Huto de harpasantos autu Helenen, toise helesi doxai proton pempsantes angelus apaitein te Helenen, kai dikas tes harpages aitein. Tuste pro iskomenon tauta, pro peren spi, medeas ten harpagen, hos udontes autoi dikas ude ekdontes apaite onton buloiatos fin par alon dikas genestai. Okay, so de utera de leguse genee metatauta Alexandron ton Priamu a ke ko otatauta etele sai hoi ek des helados di harpages genestai gunaika epistamenon pantos hoti u dose dikas ude gar ekenus de donai. So here genee is a chronological unit, meaning a generation, and counting in ancient Greek is always inclusive, so de utere de genee, in the second generation, we would say 3 generations later. So de utere de leguse genee metatauta Alexandron ton Priamu a ke ko otatauta et elesai hoi ek tes helados di harpages genestai gunaika epistamenon pantos hoti u dose dikas ude gar ekenus didonai. Now, dikas is, in the plural, this general notion of restitution. Epistamenon pantos, hoti u dose dikas, ude gar ekenus didonai. Huto de harpasantos autu Helenen, toise helesi doxai proton pempsantas angelus apatein te Helenen, kai dikas tes harpages aitein. Harpazdo, of course, is to seize or snatch. We've seen the noun based on it, harpage, and doxai is impersonal from dokeo, the aorist, it seems good, or the idea appealed to them. And we have always here a dative of the people to whom the idea occurred to be, or was considered to be good, and then usually an infinitive construction. And here our infinitives are doubled up with te and kai, apatein and aitein. And notice that Heratis leaves his contract verb forms open, that is, there is no contraction. So, ap, Aiteo is to ask for something back, and aiteo is to demand or ask for. So, hutode, harpa santos autu Helene. So the autu refers, of course, to Alexandros, and we have a nice little genitive absolute here. Hutode, harpa santos autu Helene. Toise, helesi, doxai, proton, pempsantas, angelus, apaite te Helenen, kai dikas, tes, harpages, aite ein. Tuste, pro iskomenon tauta, pro peren spe, medees, ten harpagen. So, Tuesday, we have that use of de to switch the subject. And remember, all these infinitive with accusative subjects are dependent on the leguse. They say, the people, well, just what they say, that this whole early portion of Book 1 is predicated upon. So, Tuesday, pro iskomenon tauta, and again we have a genitive absolute. Pro iskomenu in the middle is metaphorical, and it means to put forward as a pretext, alleging. So pro iskomenon tauta, pro peren sve medeas ten harpagen. So, propero is to reproach one with something. So we see it uses accusative of the thing you're approaching someone about, and dative of the person being reproached. So, properen sve medees ten harpagen. And so here we have the ancient equivalent of modern day, well, whataboutism. Well, what about Medea, they say, when the Greeks come to get some type of recompense for Helen and to get her back. So, Tuesday, pro iskomenon tauta, pro peren spe, medees ten harpagen. Hos, udontes autoidikas, ude ekdontes, bouloiatos sve dikas genestai. Now I've simplified the structure here just so we can look at these elements before we look at the whole sentence adapted in the next slide. Now this use of hos at the beginning is worth looking at. Heratis uses hos with its various meanings quite freely, and so it's a real challenge sometimes to know exactly what he's doing. But in this case, we see, looking at Smythe 2086, with participles of cause or purpose, and here these are of cause, this particle sets forth the ground of belief on which the agent acts, and denotes the thought, assertion, the real or presumed intention in the mind of the subject of the principal verb or of some other person mentioned prominently in the sentence, without implicating the speaker or writer. So Heratis isn't implicating himself, but he is saying what Paris is saying that the Greeks basically have in mind in demanding some type of recompense. So thus 2086b, hos may be rendered as if, parentheses, though there is nothing conditional in the Greek use, as is shown by the negative ou, not me, and thus it is translated by, in the opinion, belief that, on the ground that, under the pretense of, under the impression that because, as he said or thought, in the hope of, with the avowed intention of, and in those latter meanings, with the avowed intention of, one would see a future participle. But here we just have our second aorist participles, dontes and ek dontes, from didome. And ek didome means to surrender. So hos u dontes autoi dikas ude ek dontes bouloiato sve dikas genestai. So what's going on with the bouloiato? So we see the bouloiato is a optative from boulomai, which has that ending that we've seen in Homer, and which one has to always be on the lookout for in Heratis. Bouloi ato equals bouloi anto, so referred to Smythe 465F in the dialect section at the bottom of the page, 465F. And here, because they wish, and then it will take the infinitive, of course, genesthai. And we have spe, the enclitic for heautos, didn't put meant to have the rough breathing, heautos, to themselves. So, hos, udontes autoi, dikas, ude, ekdontes, apaite onton, bouloi atos ve, par alon, dikas, genesthai. So here, I actually had a little trouble figuring out exactly where to break up the segments with the apaite onton. I mean, my first impulse was to interpret that as a single word genitive absolute, thinking that having neither themselves given recompense nor returned Helen having returned Medea when the barbarians were asking, Bouloiatos ve par alon dikas genesthai. They would wish, even with that in mind, they would wish, hypocritically, that is, for recompense, for justice to be given to them, to occur for them, sve, par alon, from others. So this is a good example of do unto others as you would have others do unto you, and in one of its earliest forms. So how about this boulioto? Why do we have the subjunctive here? Well, when we're doing an indirect discourse, Smythe 2619, after secondary tenses, all subordinate verbs in the present, future, or perfect indicative, and all subjunctives are usually changed to the corresponding tenses of the optative. Okay, they can be retained as such, but usually they will be switched to the optative. And that is what we have here. The optative in a subordinate clause in indirect discourse after secondary sequence. So, hos udontes autoi dikas ude ekdontes apaite onton bouloiatos ve par alon dikas genesthai. Okay, so let's look at the whole thing now. De utere de leguse genee metatauta Alexandron ton Priamu akeko otatauta et delesai hoi ectes helados di hapages genesthai gunaika epistamenon pantos hoti dose dikas udega egenus didonai huto de harpasantos autu Helenein toisen helesi doxai proton pimsantas angelus apaite ein te Helenein kai dikas tes harpages aitein. Tuste pro iskomenon tauta, properen sphe medees ten harpagen, hos udontes autoi dikas, ude ekdontes, ab aite onton, buloiatos sphe pa alon dikas genestai. Okay, so there we have Heratis' treatment of the seduction and taking away of Helen. And here we have a wonderful French painting of Jacques-Louis David representing the seduction of Helen by Paris in Menelaus' house. So very central, very French painting here. Okay, so we'll see you again soon. Hope you enjoyed this little look at Heratis. He is one of my favorites, and I just hope you enjoyed it. So have a good day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.